Hey friend, please subscribe. 1 second for you. Big deal for me.
It was a wet Tuesday in late October, and I was already annoyed. My back seat still smelled like cheap dog kibble from my monthly drop-off at Paws Land Rescue. The wind off the Riverton River was cutting sideways, so I ducked through the underground garage beneath my building. Shortcut, sure, but that place always felt like it held on to echoes too long. I was halfway to the elevator when I heard a noise. Something shuffled near the loading area, just past the garbage bins. I figured it was a raccoon, or maybe that three-legged stray Grant had mentioned last week. I clicked on my flashlight. Not a raccoon. Two eyes stared back at me over a bent-up cardboard box. Just eyes and a mop of dirty blonde hair. The kid was crouched behind a trash dog carrier like he'd melt if I moved too fast. "Hey, buddy," I said, real soft, hands up like I was walking into a hostage scene. He didn't run, just watched me. Eyes sharp, all elbows in tension, thin hoodie, shoes with holes, no coat. He looked less like a runaway and more like someone who just wore out. I squatted down slow. "You got a name?" I asked. "Jack," he said, then corrected himself. "Jackie." His voice was flat, like he was reading from a paper he'd already folded 10 times. "Why here?" I asked. He glanced sideways at the busted carrier. He said, "Bingo used to sleep in those." And his voice cracked on the name. That hit something. I knew that name. Bingo. A mutt with a crooked ear and a nose like radar. Grant said a boy had been tagging along near the fence line at night, and the dog kept sneaking out to follow him. I stared at the carrier again. Bingo had come in last week. "You eaten?" I asked. He nodded, too fast. Then his eyes slid toward the overstuffed trash can like his stomach had already voted no. "I got sandwiches in the truck. Turkey and cheese. No tricks," I said. "I volunteer at the rescue. I know Grant inside. We can check on Bingo." That made him pause. He blinked, like his brain was scanning for traps. Then he moved, slow, deliberate. Climbed out of the pile with one shoulder tucked high like he was ready for a slap. He clutched a little toy truck in one hand, the kind my boy Miles used to shove between couch cushions like it was a racetrack. My chest went tight. I didn't say a word, just walked beside him to the elevator. Grant Holloway was locking up the back door when we got upstairs. He froze when he saw the kid. Jackie stopped short. "Is Bingo mad at me?" he asked. Grant's face shifted, careful and soft like he'd seen this before. "He's resting, champ. He's warm." I looked at Jackie. "Let's get you a hot meal and a clean shirt. Then I gotta call DCS like the law says. All right? You got veto power on everything else." He glanced toward the exit like he knew every escape route by heart. Then he gave one short nod. "Quick note, before we go on. Share in the comments what city or country you're listening from. It helps us see where everyone's tuning in and plan the best time for new stories. Thanks for watching Revenge by Frank. And let's continue." He dozed off in my passenger seat with that toy truck still in his hand. I watched the stoplight hit his face and thought about Miles and Jenna. Been 3 years since the accident. I'd kept busy and quiet at Riverline Logistics, stacking crates and sorting chaos. Thought I had peace, but life shows up uninvited. That night, it climbed into my truck, curled up on the seat, and passed out holding a toy that used to live in my house. When we got in, I handed him a clean towel and opened the bathroom door just a crack. "You say stop, everything stops," I told him. He didn't answer, but I saw his mouth move, copying the words like he was trying to carve them into his brain. While the tub filled, I made a plate. White bread, ham, apple slices. Left the fridge door wide open so he could see. "No lock," I said. He kept glancing between me and the fridge like I was waiting to snap it shut. I wasn't. Not anymore. He was already back under the blanket by the time I hung up with Mitchell. Truck parked under his elbow, sheets pulled tight to his chin like he was trying to disappear. I didn't say anything. Just set a fresh towel near the couch and went to make something warm that didn't come out of plastic. Grilled cheese, tomato soup from the can, with a splash of milk so it didn't taste like the inside of a metal drum. A banana on the side because I remembered the clinic pamphlets always say fiber like it's some kind of miracle. He didn't say he was hungry. He didn't have to. He waited until I sat back at the table, then climbed off the couch and came over quiet, like I'd snatch it back if he moved wrong. He ate like he wasn't sure how long the food would stay there. Took his time, but kept one hand over the plate like a shield. I didn't comment when he slipped 2 sandwich halves into his hoodie pocket like muscle memory. Food security's not a lecture. You just keep the food coming. Afterward, I gave him one of my old t-shirts, soft from too many washes. Hung past his knees. The drawstring sweats barely stayed up on his hips. He shuffled out of the bathroom later, hair damp and plastered to his forehead, eyes a little clearer but still hunting every shadow. "Can the living room door stay open?" he asked, voice low. "Open, nightlight on. No one touches you while you're asleep. You call it. Everything pauses." He looked me straight in the eye, then nodded twice like he'd just signed a legal contract. I called DCS on speaker, while he sat curled on the edge of the couch, watching me like he couldn't decide whether to run or stay. Paige Keller answered. Late 30s, fast voice, clipped tone, all business. "This is Wesley Carter," I told her. "Found a boy in the underground garage near the rescue. Said his name's Jackie. No visible signs of acute distress. Gave him food, bath, dry clothes. I'm available for an emergency placement check." She didn't waste time. "No questions about why or who tonight. Don't try to draw anything out of him. Just keep him safe. Keep him fed." Copy. She said I'd need a hospital check before any temporary placement could be cleared. I called Riverton General. They transferred me to the pediatric resident on duty, Rebecca Monroe. Her voice was calm. No sugarcoating, but not cold either. "Does the child feel safe enough to ride in tonight?" I looked at Jackie. He squeezed the little truck in his fist like it powered the muscles in his arm. "Only if Bingo's close," he said. "Bingo's not at the hospital, bud," I told him. "He's back at the rescue, but I'll go with you, start to finish." Jackie didn't look at me, just the floor. Then he said, "I'll go if you go." We went. Triage wasn't loud, but it buzzed. Clipboards, shoes on tile, machines humming behind curtains. Jackie gripped my coat sleeve until his fingers went red. Dr. Monroe came in wearing sneakers and no makeup, hair pinned up, clipboard tucked tight against her chest. She didn't treat him like a broken doll. She got low when she spoke, didn't crowd. Asked if she could look at his shoulder. When he didn't move, she backed off without making it a thing. Eyes scanning quietly. Bruises, ribs too visible. A healing cut near the back of his arm. She didn't narrate it, just took notes. In the hallway, she asked how I found him. I gave her the short version. Food drop, service elevator, dog carrier, scared kid. "You did right calling DCS first," she said, keeping her voice low. Then she leaned in just slightly. "If he mentions pain when he sits or lifts his arms, call me directly. I'll log it with the intake." Something knotted up in my stomach. I said, "Okay." Jackie sat on the gurney like he expected the walls to move. Dr. Monroe didn't push. She tapped the bed rail twice and waited. He stared through her at first. Didn't blink. Then he said, "My aunt used to tap the wall so I'd know she was coming in." So Dr. Monroe tapped the bed rail 2 times before every move. He let her check his breathing, his reflexes, his balance. Still didn't speak much, but he didn't flinch when she touched his hand. That was something. After photos and blood work, Paige showed up. Jeans and a flannel jacket, not a clipboard type, but she had one anyway. She stood loose, open stance, like she'd done this 100 times. "I'm Paige," she said. "No one's going to surprise you tonight. You can stay at Wesley's as emergency care if you're okay with that. Tomorrow I'll come to the house and check everything myself." Jackie looked at her like he was pricing out a long-term rental. Then he said, "Okay." Dr. Monroe walked us to the elevator when we left. She said she'd step off the case now that the initial exam was done. Just policy. Keeps the trail clean. She didn't look at me. She looked at Jackie. You did good, kid. He didn't say anything, but he raised the hand with the toy truck and gave her a slow half wave. Back at the apartment, I set up the couch with clean sheets and a battery lantern I used during blackouts. Left a water bottle by the cushion and an extra blanket at the foot. You can wake me any time, I said. He looked up. Can Bingo come here too? We'll ask Grant first thing in the morning. He nodded once. A deal was a deal. It was past 3 when I heard feet padding on the hallway rug. He stood at my door, blanket wrapped like a cape. Can the nightlight be brighter? I didn't answer. Just grabbed the lamp, moved it closer, turned it up. I sat down on the floor near the couch, back against the wall. Didn't say a word. He shifted once, pulled the blanket over his face, then peeked out just enough to watch the light. The truck sat at the edge of the cushion, front bumper pointed at the door like it was standing guard. At 6 sharp, I called my supervisor at Riverline. I managed night routes, bottleneck control, logistics that never stopped spinning. Taken a week, I said. Family? He asked. Yeah. Take the time, Wes. We'll shuffle the dock. I pinged Mitchell again. It's starting. He replied right away. I'll be there. No suit. Just boots and backup. Jackie didn't stir while I made coffee. Just lay curled on the couch with one hand on the truck and the other under the blanket. Something about the way he stayed still told me it was the first time in a long time he believed he'd be allowed to. He pulled up his hood, pressed the toy truck to his palm, and stood ready by the door. We got somewhere to be. We pulled into Paws Land Rescue right at open. Jackie didn't wait for me. He took off the second his feet hit the pavement, hood bouncing behind him as he ran. I caught up just in time to see him hit the kennels, eyes sweeping fast left to right, then landing. Middle row, 4th gate down. Bingo. The mutt lost his mind the second he saw Jackie. One ear up, the other flopped sideways like it forgot the assignment. He jumped up on the bars, tail slamming against the back wall, whining like his whole body remembered. Jackie dropped to his knees and shoved both arms through the gate. Bingo licked his hands, face, hoodie, and started pawing at the latch like he was ready to break out. Grant stood by the doorway, arms crossed. His lips were tight, but I could see it in his face. He knew what this was. He gave me a long look. Didn't say a word. I walked over slow, gave Jackie a second before crouching beside him. I'll cover the fee, I said. If Paige signs off, Bingo comes home. Jackie's whole body locked up, shoulders high, fists curled in the dog's fur. He stared at me like he was waiting for the punchline. No catch, I said. Dog comes home if DCS says yes. His voice was low, but there was steel in it. If no Bingo, I go. I didn't argue. Everyone's got one safe thing they build their world around. For me, it used to be a pickup and a garage full of tools. For this kid, it was a mutt with a busted ear and eyes that didn't blink. Paige showed up 10 minutes later, clipboard in hand, boots still wet from the sidewalk. She didn't need the backstory. One look at the kid on the floor, and the dog licking him like he was made of peanut butter, and she just nodded once. Let me make a call. She stepped outside. Jackie didn't move. Bingo curled against the bars and let out a groan like he'd been waiting a long time to rest. Paige came back with marching orders. Fenced yard or a tether plan, she said. Vet check, no forced interactions. He's support, not a tool. Understood. Grant walked over with something in his hand, a small silver sidewalk tag, dented at the edge. Found it on his old rope collar, he said. He handed it to Jackie, who took it like it was glass, slid it into his hoodie pocket with both hands. Then, without a word, he reached into the other pocket and pulled out a crumpled snack bar. He unwrapped it, split it in half, and gave Bingo the bigger piece. The dog took it gentle, tail thumping. On the ride home, Jackie was quiet for a while. Then he said, he finds warm air vents. When it's cold, he knows where to go. I kept my hands at 10 and 2, eyes forward. He stands between me and drunk guys. One growl, They back off. I didn't say anything. He's not mine, he added, like it mattered. He just found me. Back home, we started baking. Always do on my days off. Something about the smell settles a place. Jackie didn't ask to help. He hovered near the counter, sniffing the air like he was memorizing it. "You want to stir?" I asked. He shook his head, then reached out, spun the bowl 2 full turns, and stepped back like he was completing some kind of ritual. His eyes didn't leave the surface as the yeast started bubbling. "You bake a lot?" I asked. "No," he said, then paused. "Just watched." Dana let me sit at the table. She said bread's got patience. That hit harder than I expected. I set a rule right then. Food's always available. Put a bowl of bananas on the counter, slid the bread bin wide open. Still caught him sneaking 2 rolls later, one stuffed deep in his pocket like a backup plan. I didn't say a word, just added 2 more rolls to a plate near the couch. "Those are for later," I said, loud enough for him to hear from the hallway. He walked past 3 times that afternoon, each time glancing at the plate like he was checking for sabotage. Around 4, I watched him reach for a bowl and flinch halfway up. His fingers went to his shoulder like he was trying to rub the ache out of the bone. "You okay?" I asked. "Last place made me carry stuff. Heavy stuff. Said it was practice." He dropped the bowl. "Just let it go." I caught it midair and set it down. "You can stop any time here." He nodded without looking at me. That night, he lined up 3 rolls on the coffee table, put the toy truck behind them like it was following their trail. Bingo lay curled up beside the couch, one eye half open like he was on guard duty. "When you want to sleep, that's when sleep happens," I said. 8:30, he replied. "But can you leave the door open so the dog can see me?" Done. At 2 in the morning, I heard the yelp. Not loud, but sharp, like he was trying not to wake the walls. I walked out, sat down, slid a water glass across the table, then tapped twice on the edge, same rhythm Dr. Monroe used on the bed rail. His shoulders eased. "Aunt Dana used to do that," he whispered. "She sounds solid." He nodded into the blanket. I didn't ask more. The next morning, he opened the hall closet while I was folding towels. Found the box. I'd shoved it back in there 3 years ago and never touched it again. He pulled out a photo, Jenna, me, and Miles on the porch. I was still holding Miles's hand in that one, his knees scraped from a scooter spill. Jackie froze, like the air changed. I walked over slow, took the photo back, put it in the box, closed the lid. "We can look together sometime, when you're ready." He didn't answer. Just put the box back on the shelf himself, hands flat on the top, then stood there breathing slow like he was telling himself not to break. He pressed his palm against the tag in his pocket like it carried weight, then looked up at me and said, "It's proof." I didn't ask proof of what. I just nodded and let the moment hold. The next morning, Paige knocked at 9 sharp. She wore jeans and boots and had a thick manila folder under one arm, clipboard in the other, the kind of posture that says she's seen every version of this, good, bad, and the ones that don't make it into files. "Walk me through it," she said. I showed her the fridge first, stocked, not locked. Sliced fruit, lunch meat, milk, snacks in a clear bin with his name sharpied on the side. I'd labeled a shelf just for him. She nodded once. Then the bathroom. No locked cabinets, meds out of reach, but not hidden. Towels folded, a fresh toothbrush still in the package just in case. Then the sleeping setup, couch made up like a bed, extra blanket folded at the end, nightlight plugged in and set to a warm orange. "He likes that one better than blue," I said. The schedule was taped to the fridge in big block letters. Breakfast, school, dinner, bath, quiet time. No clocks, just flow. At the top I'd written, "You're in charge of the breaks here." Paige read it twice. Then she tapped the paper and looked at me. "He believe that yet?" "He's starting to." She asked for house rules. I didn't sugarcoat. No hitting. Ever. Food stays available. Doors stay cracked unless he wants them closed. Bedtime's a target, not a punishment. And we tell the truth, but at a pace that doesn't break anybody. She wrote it down word for word. Then she looked me in the eye. You ready to make it legal? I said yes before I thought about it. We drove to the DCS office that afternoon. Jackie rode in the back seat with Bingo's tag clenched in his fist. Didn't speak much, just kept staring at the floorboards like he was counting how far away he could disappear if things went sideways. Inside, the air smelled like toner and dust. Fluorescent lights that made everyone look sick. The chairs squeaked if you moved even a little. Jackie sat next to me, feet swinging just above the tile, staring at the patterns like they meant something. I signed so many forms my hand cramped. Pages and pages, one line at a time. Emergency placement, medical release, school authority, intake verification, trauma waivers. Paige handled the rest, scheduling home study visits, parenting classes, trauma seminars, licensing prep. That's a mountain, I said when she handed me the final packet. You're not climbing alone, she said. First class was at a converted rec center off Main. Plastic chairs, dry coffee. The instructor had a ponytail and a steel backbone. She opened with, "Control builds safety. If a child doesn't feel power in the small things, they'll break on the big ones." I wrote it down in block letters. Give choices. Socks or no socks. Red cup or blue. Sit on the couch or the rug. Don't yank stories out. Let him bring his own rope across. Don't ask why things happened. Ask how he wants to feel safe now. No lectures, just anchors. Therapy started the next week. 2 afternoons. Same lady every time. Mid-40s. Soft voice, but no nonsense. First session, Jackie said exactly 9 words. The therapist asked if Bingo could stay. Jackie said, "He can stay if he doesn't talk." That got a small laugh. Bingo snored halfway through, a low motorboat sound that made Jackie uncurl his hands without realizing it. Meanwhile, I dropped back to part-time at Riverline. Nights only. Routing backups, emergency load sheets, making sure nobody left pallets in the fire lanes. Doyle and Keegan picked up the slack. Doyle left me a folded napkin one night with a list on it. Used furniture stores, garage sales, and a scribble at the bottom. Try the lamp with the dimmer. We did. The dimmer helped. I set it to the lowest notch. Left the hallway light on medium. Jackie still slept on the couch with the toy truck in one hand and Bingo's tag in the other, like both things were keeping him pinned to the floor. Bingo claimed the rug like it was a battlefield he'd won. School meant more meetings. I told the counselor up front, no pity parades, no welcome Jackie, posters, no special announcements. Just let him start small and steady. They placed him with Ms. Bishop, mid-50s, glasses on a chain, voice like gravel. Didn't do baby talk. Didn't smile unless she meant it. He came home after the first day and said, "She doesn't yell." That was a win in my book. Back home, baking turned into our rhythm. Mondays were for soft rolls. Fridays for cinnamon knots. He didn't want to mix at first, just watched. Then one day I turned my back and found his small fist punching the dough like it owed him money. I set aside a bowl just for him from then on. He sniffed the air one night and said, "The kitchen smells like a real house." I bent down to tie my shoe just to blink back the sting in my eyes. One night, waiting for dough to rise, he sat at the counter, rolling a spoon under his palm. He said, "Her name was Dana, Aunt Dana. She got tired and then got gone." He stared at his hands, not crying, just hollow. I tried to make her tea, the kind with honey, but the kettle didn't whistle, so I didn't know it was ready. He cupped his palms like he was holding that mug again. I didn't fill the silence, just said, "She did her best." He whispered, "She did." That was the whole story for that night. A few days later, Grant called. Vet check done, paperwork cleared, and no red flags on either end. Said a donor had covered the adoption fee. I told him I'd pay it anyway and to push the donation toward winter blankets. Jackie stood next to me while I signed the slip, watched every letter. When I handed the receipt back, he said, "Can I keep the stub?" "Sure," I said. He folded it into a perfect little square and slid it into the pocket behind Bingo's tag. Then he exhaled, sharp and fast, like he'd been holding something heavy under his ribs. Rain had a way of making the apartment feel smaller. The windows hummed with it, the kind that didn't stop all day. Jackie stood in front of the couch, wrestling his shirt over his head, and I saw him wince halfway through the move. It wasn't the small kind of flinch either. It was the one you learn from repetition. I froze mid-step. "Shoulder again?" I asked. He shrugged with his good side, eyes down. "Just a pull." I didn't believe it. The bruise I caught a glimpse of when the shirt slipped up wasn't new, but it wasn't fading right either. I texted Paige. She set up an appointment the same day. Dr. Monroe was on rotation out of town, so we got her replacement. Dr. Adler. Older guy, gray mustache, voice that sounded like gravel over coffee. He didn't do small talk, just went straight to work, logged the bruising patterns, asked the right questions, and wrote notes that would make lawyers sweat later. Jackie didn't look at either of us while the doctor talked. His eyes stayed locked on a poster of cartoon lungs taped to the wall. When Dr. Adler said, "These look like someone favored a belt," Jackie's shoulders tensed. Not from surprise, from memory. Paige was already there by the time we left the exam room. Clipboard open, pen in motion. She crouched next to him in the waiting area, voice even. "Jackie, you did nothing wrong by telling us if someone hurt you before. Do you remember which home this was?" He kept his eyes on the floor, then without warning said, "The first family didn't hit. They just took." Paige glanced at me, then back at him. "The Whitakers?" His lip trembled just once. He nodded. "Church people," he said quietly. "They made me stand up front while folks cried and handed them envelopes." My stomach dropped. "They called me their miracle," he went on. "Then they sent me to my room when the checks were counted." Paige didn't move. She just let him talk. "They wanted papers. Said if they could get special needs papers, the church would raise more money. They took pictures of me looking small. Said don't smile. Then they bought a new coffee machine." He swallowed hard. "I got store cereal. The fruit was for guests." He didn't cry. He just looked tired. "Then what happened?" Paige asked softly. "One morning after the big fundraiser, they forgot to lock the door. I walked. My feet bled. Nobody called me back." Paige's pen stopped moving. She had that face, flat, focused, the one she wears when she's already building a report in her head. She looked at me. "Keep notes," she said. "Dates, names, anything he brings up. Don't ask. Just listen." That night, I cleared out a drawer in the kitchen and dropped a small notebook in it, titled it Jackie Notes on the cover. I hated the name, but it served its purpose. Before bed, I sent an email to Grant at Pausland, asked if anyone had come by asking questions about a kid or a dog. He replied an hour later. Guy with a clipped beard came by Tuesday, asked if a boy with a mutt had been seen, showed him the door. Probably your Whitaker. I sat back from the screen, jaw tight. Grant's polite shelter director way meant he told the guy to pound sand with a smile. Jackie was at the counter helping shape dinner rolls when I told Paige the next morning. She didn't even blink. "We'll verify the man's ID through the licensing board," she said. "You keep doing what you're doing. Document, don't chase." But that night, while we stood elbow deep in dough, Jackie looked up at me. "If they find me, do I have to go?" I set the bowl down, palms flat on the counter where he could see them. "No one takes you without a judge and your say. That's the law." He nodded once, sharp. "Okay." The way his throat moved told me it wasn't okay at all, but it was close enough for now. I started pulling threads, screenshots of the Whitakers' church posts, the fundraiser labeled Our Adoption Journey, Photos of Jackie's blurred-out face, but you could still see the scar on his shoulder if you knew where to look. I sent everything to Paige. She looped in the state licensing office. The file started growing. Jackie fell asleep early that night, worn out from kneading dough. Bingo sprawled on his back under the table, snoring loud enough to rattle the utensils drawer. I cleaned up in silence, then sat in the living room with Miles's box across my knees. I opened it for the first time in 3 years. Inside, the twin pickup truck, the same model Jackie carried. Miles had dragged his through pancake syrup once, left a sticky trail up the hall. I turned it over in my hand and felt something I hadn't in a long time. Not grief exactly, but direction. Like all that pain finally had something useful to do. My phone buzzed near 10. Paige. State review opened on the Whitakers. Tax credit hold in progress. You did good work, Wes. A small step toward justice, I typed back. Then, I'll take what we can get. I washed the mixing bowl while the message bubbles faded. Outside, the rain still came down hard. Inside, the air felt clean for the first time all day. Later, Jackie stirred under his blanket. If I stop breathing, he said suddenly, voice half asleep, will you hear me? I was standing by the door frame. Yeah, bud, I'll hear you. Promise? Promise. Bingo let out a snore so heavy the lampshade buzzed. Jackie laughed. Quiet, startled, but real. First one I'd heard in the dark. I stood there longer than I needed to, just listening to the rhythm of it, the snore, the breath, the small sounds of a kid finally starting to believe he was safe. Jackie tapped the truck against the nightstand once, then let it sit. No rituals, no double checks, just parked it and pulled the blanket up to his chin. That's how I knew something had shifted. He didn't say goodnight. He didn't need to. I was halfway through my second cup of coffee the next morning when Paige called. Her voice was sharp, no lead-in. Heads up, she said. Derek Nolan filed a complaint. Says you took a child. I stopped breathing for half a second. That name had been a footnote in one of her earlier files. Jackie's second placement. Foster license active. Not flagged. But I remembered the rest. He drank. He let things slide. You serious? I asked. Dead serious, she said. We have to treat it as valid until we prove otherwise. I've already notified the compliance team. Expect a visit. My hands went cold. The complaint wasn't just noise. It triggered an automatic safety plan. Another team. Fresh eyes. No assumptions. They had to act like everything was on the line, because on paper, it was. I found Jackie sitting at the table with a banana and 3 forks lined up like troops in a row. He was calm, but I saw it in his fingers. The way he kept tapping the fork handles, soft and fast, like Morse code. I sat down across from him. Someone from your past is saying stuff that isn't true. Not your fault. We'll answer questions and keep moving forward. Nothing changes. He didn't look up. Is this where I move again? No. We're planted. The compliance visit landed that afternoon. They showed up on time, no smiles. A man and a woman, both in stiff suits and matching neutral expressions. They moved through my place like it was a showroom. No chit-chat, no compliments. The woman stood in front of the counter and eyed the bread cooling on the rack. Do you have a set food routine? Yes. Open access. Snacks when he wants. Dinner together every night. She nodded slowly, then looked at the fruit bowl. Counted apples without touching them. I didn't say anything. The man wandered into the bathroom and opened cabinets. He held up a bottle of bubble bath and muttered, "Kid stuff," almost like it surprised him to find it. I kept my hands in plain sight. Nothing defensive. Let them do their job. Dr. Adler sent over a formal note. Bruising patterns consistent with prior belt use. X-rays from the ER showing healed fractures. No new marks since placement. That report hit harder than anything I could have said. Paige followed up with her own notes. She listed everything. Jackie's progress, therapy attendance, sleep patterns, the open door policy, The dog, the baking, the schedule on the fridge. She sent over photos from the home check. It was a wall of paper that did the talking for me. Then Nolan called. Blocked number. I almost didn't answer. When I did, his voice came through ragged and slurred. "You're a thief," he said. I hung up, logged the time and date, texted Paige. He called, blocked number, slurred speech. "Don't engage," she replied. "Let the paper talk. You've done everything right." I sat on the porch after that, hands clenched around a cup of coffee gone cold. Didn't say anything. Didn't have to. I just let it burn through. 3 days later, the compliance team came back. This time the questions were sharper, not hostile, just exact. How many hours a week did I work? Did Jackie help with chores? Did he know where the fire extinguisher was? Did I monitor screen time? Did I raise my voice? Jackie asked if Bingo could sit by his chair during the interview. The man looked at the woman. She gave a small nod. "If he's quiet," she said. Bingo sat beside Jackie like a trained support dog, head on his knee, ears relaxed, didn't move once. Jackie didn't fidget, didn't glance at the door, just answered each question with his small, even voice. "I don't have chores," he said. "I get to help when I feel good. I pick red cup or blue cup." The woman blinked. "That's a choice?" "It's mine," he said. A week later, Paige called. "Cleared. Complaint marked unfounded. They're closing the file." I didn't respond right away. Just let the words land. "And Nolan?" I asked. "His license is suspended while we investigate further. Based on his call and his history, we're recommending revocation. He won't be taking any more placements." There was a long pause. Neither of us filled it. That night, I didn't say anything to Jackie right away. We baked like we always did. He dipped a roll in honey and tilted his head like he was thinking about something. "Can we do the little cuts on top like in the videos?" I handed him a paring knife and showed him how to angle the blade just enough to open the dough without tearing it. He made 3 lines. "They look like roads," he said. "Exactly," I told him. "Every roll's got its own route." He placed them on the pan in neat rows. One for him, one for me, one shaped like a bone. "For Bingo," he said. At bedtime, he walked past the couch, past the dimmer lamp, and stood by the nightstand. He held the toy truck for a second, then set it down gently. Not on the cushion, on the table. "He can park here now," he said. That hit deeper than I expected. I stood in the hall a while after he laid down, watching the slow rise and fall of the blanket, the way his hand rested on the edge like he finally trusted the ground wouldn't fall out from under him. Jackie rinsed his hands a 3rd time, shook them over the sink like he'd been trained to not waste paper towels. He took his time, drying each finger. I was setting out the cooling rack when my phone buzzed. Paige. I picked up on the 2nd ring. "Word's out," she said. "Marla Vale wants contact." I didn't answer right away. Just closed the cabinet door harder than I needed to. "We'll do it at the office," Paige added. "Controlled setting only." "Of course." "She hasn't filed for custody. No petition. Just wants to meet." "What does she want?" I asked. "Hard to say. Maybe guilt. Maybe money. Maybe just attention. You don't need to prep Jackie for anything long-term. Just tell him the facts." I nodded, even though she couldn't see it. Jackie didn't ask for details when we told him. He just touched the tag in his hoodie pocket and asked, "Can Bingo wait outside the room?" Paige said, "Yes. And remember, you call stop, we stop." He gave a small nod. Didn't speak. Looked too calm for 7. The day of the meeting, he wore the blue hoodie with the sleeves pulled past his wrists. I brought extra water and his red cup. We waited in the neutral conference room with the frosted glass. It was cold, smelled like cleaning spray and nerves. Marla Vale came in 10 minutes late, smelling like cheap perfume and panic. Her eyes darted around like she expected someone to jump out of a filing cabinet. Makeup heavy, voice light, trying hard to fake easy. "Hey, baby," she said, moving fast toward him. Jackie flinched hard enough to make the chair legs squeal. She froze mid-reach. "It's okay," she said too quickly, like that could rewind it. "I've been getting things in order. Got a line on a job, maybe two. Your school records, they got transferred wrong, but I'm fixing that." Jackie didn't move, didn't blink. "Also," she added, turning to Paige, "I didn't know if there was stipend money available. Like if he's placed somewhere, could I maybe get help covering his—" "No," Paige said, flat and final. "There is no stipend for biological parents without legal custody. And that's not what today is for." Marla blinked, wet-eyed now. "I didn't mean it like that. Dana never should have—" That was it. Jackie stood up, fists small and solid. "Dana fed me," he said. Not loud, but loud enough. Marla's jaw twitched. Paige shut her notebook. "We're done," she said. "Meeting's over." In the hallway, Jackie's breathing was fast and high in his chest. I tapped the wall twice, just soft. His shoulders dropped a notch. We sat on the bench near the elevator. I pulled a peppermint from my pocket and unwrapped it for him. He popped it into his mouth like it was armor. "Do I have to see her again?" he asked. I kept my answer clean. "That'll be up to you and the judge. No surprises." He didn't say anything for a while. Then quiet. "Okay." I took him straight to the park. The air smelled like wet leaves and cold bark. Bingo went after a tennis ball with reckless joy, then came trotting back with a glove from someone else's bag like it was the prize of the day. Jackie laughed so hard he hiccuped. Then he slowed down, turned serious. "If the judge asks where home is, what do I say?" "You say the truth, bud." He nodded, eyes locked on the jungle gym like he was trying to memorize the shape of safe. The next morning, I opened my inbox to a message from someone named Sister in Christ. It was full of Bible verses and concerns about stealing a child from a godly couple. I sent it straight to Paige and hit block. Then I opened a new email window and typed one line to the Whitaker's pastor. Attached 3 screenshots of their fundraiser. Closed with, "How does a child end up in your campaign if the family declined to continue placement?" No reply. But the fundraiser vanished before nightfall. The following day, Grant forwarded a flyer from Paws Land Rescue. Winter Drive and Vaccination Clinic. Dr. Rebecca Monroe's name was on the volunteer list. Not a message, not contact, just a public sign-up. Her name sat near the bottom, plain font, no spotlight. I marked the date on the fridge under Bingo's big day. No crossed wires, clean lines. That's how it had to be. That evening, Jackie helped shape rolls again. This time, he pressed his thumb into the center of each one, real focused. "It's so they don't puff weird," he said. "You're the boss of the dough," I told him. He nodded like I'd handed him a badge, then went to wash his hands again, counting the seconds. He dried them on the same towel, folded it in half, and hung it like it lived on that hook. I watched him move through the kitchen like it meant something, like every step was part of something he'd decided belonged to him. Flour still dusted the kitchen floor and Bingo's nose when I set the hearing date alert on my phone. Jackie pressed the dog bone roll flat on the cooling rack like it needed a stamp of approval. He watched it cool like it was headed to a museum. 2 mornings later, we walked through the courthouse doors together. Paige was already inside, briefing security, calm as ever in a gray sweater and flats. Jackie held my wrist instead of my hand, tighter than usual. The toy truck stayed hidden in his hoodie pocket, but I could hear the click of metal when he gripped it. We sat at the front of the family courtroom, beneath buzzing lights and the flag that barely moved. The wood paneling made everything feel too big. Jackie's legs didn't touch the floor from his chair. Judge Mariah Ellison walked in with 0 ceremony. No robe swoosh, no dramatic pause. She sat, adjusted her glasses, and started flipping through the file with the focus of someone cutting through nonsense for a living. She looked up. "This is a 30-day review of temporary placement for minor child Jackie Vale. All present?" Paige answered. "Paige Keller, Riverton DCS, Mr. Wesley Carter present as emergency placement guardian. Child is present. The judge nodded. Proceed. Page started steady. We're recommending continued placement based on environment stability, trauma-responsive care, school attendance, and therapeutic engagement. We have documents to support that. Judge Ellison nodded again, eyes flicking to the next page. Doctor, Adler's notes on prior injuries are included? Yes, Your Honor. She turned a page, tapped her pen once, then looked directly at Jackie. Do you want to speak today? He froze for half a second, then whispered, Only if Bingo can come. The judge looked at Page, then at the bailiff. Therapy animals are allowed in some cases, she said, if he stays quiet. The bailiff stepped out. 2 minutes later, Bingo came strutting in like he owned the place, bow tie crooked from the car ride. He walked straight to Jackie and laid his head on the kid's foot like they'd rehearsed it. The room changed a little after that. Not soft, but quieter. Less stiff. Do you feel safe where you are, Jackie? The judge asked. Jackie nodded. Why? He glanced at me, then answered. He keeps his promises. That landed. Hard. Even the bailiff tilted his head a little like he wasn't expecting that from a 7-year-old. Page presented the Whitaker evidence next. She laid out the screenshots of the fundraiser, the notes about the adoption tax credit push, the stage photos, the pressure for special needs papers without a single eval. Judge Ellison's eyes narrowed. Were any of these documented through formal DCS channels during placement? No, Your Honor. All surfaced post-placement via third-party investigation. Thank you. Then Page moved to the Nolan complaint. She stated clearly that it was closed, unfounded, and accompanied by a now active license revocation from the state board. She laid it all out in simple terms. Mr. Carter has not just complied, she said. He's stabilized a placement where the child has shown consistent physical, emotional, and academic progress. I didn't say anything. Just kept my palms on my knees where Jackie could see them. I wanted him to know I wasn't hiding a thing. Then came Marla. She entered with a public defender and a scarf wrapped too tightly around her neck, like it was holding her together. The lawyer tried a speech about family reunification and biological rights. Judge Ellison shut it down with one question. Do you have evidence of sustained sobriety or stable housing? The lawyer shifted. We were not informed that... No documents? The judge asked again. Marla didn't even lift her eyes. Then this court will proceed on existing testimony and file contents. She sat back in her chair and looked at me next. Mr. Carter, do you understand this is still temporary? I do. And that you are required to maintain all existing therapy appointments, school attendance, and monthly check-ins with DCS? Yes, ma'am. She looked at Jackie again. And you're okay with that? Jackie nodded. As long as the dog can come too. That broke the room a little. Even the clerk smiled. Judge Ellison marked her notes, then looked up one last time. Continued custody granted. Full adoption review to be scheduled within the next 90 days. Until then, keep the rhythm you've built. It's working. The gavel tapped the block once. Small sound. Big shift. We walked out into a hallway that smelled like paper and stale coffee, but it felt like fresh air. Jackie let Bingo lick his fingers, then reached for my hand on his own. His voice was quiet. If we do the big decision, can my last name be Carter too? I bent down until we were eye to eye. If you want it, yeah. No pressure. He looked down at Bingo. We want it. In the car, he cracked the window and stuck his nose to the edge. Smells like the river, I said. And bread. He grinned. You always say that, because it's always true. That night, we baked extra. Jackie shaped a roll into something lumpy and long. For court dogs only, he said. Bingo ate it in 2 bites, then sneezed flour all over my sweats. Jackie laughed so hard he fell off the stool, and I had to catch him by the hood before he hit the floor. We both sat there on the kitchen tile, still laughing. I left the truck on my dresser that night, right between Jenna's picture and the tiny socks Miles never outgrew. Jackie watched me place it there. He didn't say anything, but I caught him glancing at it when he walked past my room the next morning. We still had 3 months before the final hearing, but the house stayed full. Home studies, check-ins, therapy logs, counselor visits. Every day felt like prep for something bigger. I kept the fridge stocked and the table clear. I sharpened pencils before appointments and kept fresh rolls in a basket near the front window. Jackie called them meeting rolls. The Whitakers didn't go quiet. Someone, no name, just Truth Rising with a photo of clouds, posted a message online that I'd kidnapped a child and stolen from a godly family. I took a screenshot and sent it to Paige. Then I texted a friend from my night shift days. Isaiah used to do back-end IT for the city. 2 hours later, he pinged me back. Church IP, staff device. Paige can take it from here. I didn't need the name, but she did. DCS routed everything to the licensing board and kicked it up to the state attorney general's office. The donation pages stayed down. The Whitakers' church issued a generic line about reviewing internal practices. No apology, no ownership, just static. Marla tried one last long shot. She showed up outside my building in a hoodie with 2 other women trailing her like backup dancers. Her speech was half sober, half scripted. She kept calling Jackie my boy and waving a manila folder I knew was empty. I kept my voice calm. "You can't be here." "I just want to talk to my son," she said. "He needs to hear my side. He's blood." I dialed Paige while standing on the sidewalk. Jackie was upstairs, Bingo pressed against his door like a checkpoint guard. Paige answered on the second ring. "She's outside," I said. "Stay where you are." A patrol car showed up in under 10 minutes. The officer didn't waste time, told Marla to leave, told her not to come back without a court order. She called him a fake cop and swore at the sky, then stumbled off with her entourage like it was a show she hadn't rehearsed well enough. I stood on the porch until her silhouette vanished. Back at Riverline, the rhythm stayed the same. Nights filled with trucks, reroutes, bottlenecks. Doyle kept dropping flour on my doorstep like he was building a snowbank. He claimed his sister over-ordered for her bakery. I didn't argue. Tuesdays became twist night, soft pretzels after therapy. Jackie got real precise with the shaping. He said pretzels were harder than rolls because they had expectations. One afternoon, Grant emailed a flyer about the Pause Land Winter fundraiser. Dr. Monroe's name was on the volunteer list, small font, near the bottom of the committee section. No message, no notes, just her name, clean and quiet. Grant followed up. "Any chance you and Bingo want to join the Adopted Pets Parade?" I asked Jackie. He thought about it, then said, "Only if Bingo gets a bow tie." I ordered 2, navy with little gold stars. He started sleeping deeper after that, still kept the dimmer low and the hallway light on medium, but the nightmares backed off. He stopped flinching at small noises. One morning he patted out in his socks and said, "Can we move the bed so I can see the hallway better?" We shifted it together. That night he slept straight through. The adoption study moved forward without a hitch. The social worker came back 3 times, asked about the dog, looked through the pantry, checked for food security, hygiene, consistent schooling. I handed her the therapy records and school progress notes. Jackie walked her through the fridge like it was a tour. She asked what the house rules were. He answered first. "I get to hit the brakes here." She smiled and wrote it down. Bingo kept doing his job, guarding the couch, snoring like a freight train, stealing socks and presenting them like medals. Jackie taught him how to shake, then insisted he sign paperwork with his paw before bed. We framed a photo of it and stuck it on the fridge under a magnet that said official. Then, the day before the final hearing, Paige called. Her voice was light. "The Whitakers are out. Licensing hold in place. Church is refunding donors. IRS opened an inquiry last week. Your name's clear." I didn't say anything at first, just felt something release in my spine. "Thanks, Paige." I baked a honey oat loaf that night. Something new. Jackie took a bite and said, "It tastes like mornings at school before everyone is loud." Later, when I was folding blankets, he brought me the toy truck. Held it in both hands for a second before passing it over. "You can park it in your room if you want." I nodded, took it, and placed it right back on the dresser. The grief didn't vanish, but for once it didn't ache. It just rested. By then, he answered to Jack at school. At home, Jackie still felt right. The courthouse felt different this time, less like a test, more like a room we earned our way into. Jackie stood tall next to me in the blue shirt we ironed twice that morning because he said the sleeves, "Get wiggly." He kept checking the collar like it might run off. Paige met us inside and squeezed my shoulder. Mitchell, true to his word, showed up in jeans and a clean flannel, sat behind us with both hands folded, solid and steady. Didn't say much, just gave me a nod like we'd finally finished the job. Judge Ellison took the bench, robe crisp, expression calm. She scanned the room like she already knew how this was going to go, but she still respected the steps. When she called Jackie forward, he didn't hesitate. "Jack, would you like to speak today?" she asked. He nodded, cleared his throat, looked at me first, then at her. She leaned forward slightly. "Where's your home, Jack?" He reached into his pocket, rubbed the dog tag between his fingers like a coin, and said, "Where it smells like warm bread and the dog snores." The silence that followed was the good kind, the kind people don't interrupt. Judge Ellison looked back down at the folder. "This court has reviewed the final adoption study, school records, health documentation, and therapeutic reports. All indicators show a stable, nurturing, and consistent environment. Mr. Carter, do you understand the permanent nature of this petition?" "I do," I said. My voice caught a little. Didn't matter. "Then by the authority of this court, I grant the petition. Jack Vale is now Jack Carter." The gavel tapped once, clean and final. Jackie leaned into me with all his weight. Bingo, somehow sensing his cue, climbed halfway into both our laps, tail thumping the wood bench, bow tie askew. Paige wiped at her eyes and muttered something about allergies. Mitchell grinned and gave a single clap before catching himself. We didn't stop to celebrate right away. We didn't need a restaurant or a plan. That night, we did what we always did. Aprons, flour, heat. He measured the stew spices and got distracted mid-pour, so the kitchen smelled like cumin for 2 days. We rolled dough and shaped it into lopsided spirals. I let him put in the baking powder without checking. The cake rose like it was trying to escape the pan. He pointed at it, wide-eyed, and said, "That's the celebration bump." We ate every bite. Later, after dishes, I stepped out back. The porch light glowed soft through the window. Inside, I could hear Bingo's snore rattling the wall, and Jackie humming through his teeth as he dried the cups. I let out one long breath and felt something leave my chest for good. I'd gone into that garage thinking I was saving a child. Truth is, that boy pulled something solid out of the part of me I thought was done for. A week after the hearing, we went to the Paws Land fundraiser. The community hall was packed. Bingo wore his bow tie again and trotted through the adopted pets parade with pride until he spotted the snack table. We got pulled halfway across the floor before I could brace. Jackie called it a tactical distraction. Dr. Rebecca Monroe stood by the raffle baskets, her hair down for once, simple blue dress and a careful smile. She waved. I waved back. We met by the coffee urn, kept our boundaries clean. She asked about the kid, the dog, the baking. I asked about the hospital, her shift changes, the fundraiser, strict boundaries, just 2 people talking. She mentioned a Saturday market with a flower stall she liked. Asked if we ever went. "We could," I said. On the ride home, Jackie passed out sideways across the back seat, arm draped over Bingo's back. Both of them snored like engines. I carried him inside, heavier than before in a way that felt earned. Tucked him into his bed facing the hall. Just before his eyes shut, he mumbled, "Save me 2 rolls in the morning, Big Wes, and tell Bingo no drooling on my pillow." Deal. The kid was home. We both were. If someone showed up in your life when you'd already given up on second chances, would you have let them in or pushed them away? If this story hit home, please like and subscribe. It means a lot to us and takes just one click from you. And if you enjoyed it, leave a comment, write that the story was good, or share your thoughts. It really helps keep this channel going. Thanks for being here with us.
YouTube picked this for you. Tap it. Let's see if they guessed right.